Hi, my name is Dr. Myava Clark, and I am your parent empowerment and child safety advocate. I help parents and caregivers of neurodivergent children by providing emotional support and practical tools without burning out, while they guide their children toward meaningful friendships where they are truly celebrated for who they are and not just tolerated, all while protecting them against being bullied. Neurodivergent refers to the way the brain processes information, learns, or behaves, which is considered different than what is normal or neurotypical. Neurodivergent is just an umbrella term that includes things like ADHD, autism, and dyslexia. Why am I here? Why am I in this space? And why do I care? How did I become a parent advocate? Why am I a child safety advocate? Why do I empower parents? These are questions that I'm going to answer today. Well, I'm in this space because of my son. My son Chris had learning the developmental delays and learning differences. And it was a journey. It was a learning curve. It was stressful sometimes. It was overwhelming sometimes, and it was lonely at other times. I am married. I walked through this journey with my husband and still found it to be lonely at times. And not so much because I needed a partner, but because we didn't know where we were going on the journey. We didn't always know if our decisions were right. We didn't know if they were the best decisions, but we did the best that we could with what we had. We didn't have support that we could go to from someone we knew and trusted that had navigated these waters before us. We had our doctors, we had, the team that we asked questions, but honestly, we didn't even always know if what the educators were advising, if it was always in Chris's best interest versus the best interest of the school. So we had to ask questions. We had to really discuss things. And guess what? We didn't always have the same opinion. We didn't always agree on the best way to serve our son. And we had to negotiate, we had to talk. Sometimes that was even stressful. Sometimes um, it was uncomfortable because we had different opinions and we had different thoughts about a situation but as parents we had to come together and we had to determine what it was going to be. And a lot of times how we came to a decision was basically who was the most passionate about a particular situation and why, and how we defended our stance on that is usually how we decided to go with what we didn't originally agree with. And sometimes we got it right and sometimes we didn't. But one thing I've learned, that when you don't know, you still got to do something. And I heard someone say this year, and it was like, wow, that's pretty cool. They said, God won't help you start. He won't start you, but he can stop you. Meaning, if you do something and it's not the right thing, God will intervene and redirect your path, or show you that something else would be a better option and to do something else. But if you don't get started, you don't give him something to work with, and then you'll stay stuck. And that wouldn't serve us or our son. So we really need to make sure that we're doing something and we do the best something that we could do when we have a difficult decision to make, and just go from there, right? So as Chris and I navigated the space, this Chris Senior and I, as we navigated the space, it wasn't easy. So, and again, like I said, sometimes it was lonely. Sometimes it felt like it was us against the world because people didn't understand the path or the journey. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of people understood it. It just wasn't people in our circle. It just wasn't people in our circle of influence that understood necessarily what we were going through. And when you don't have that, sometimes you feel like it's just you. You feel like you're totally alone. You feel like nobody gets you. And it's not reality. You just haven't tapped into the people who actually do get you, the people that actually do understand. So now what? What do? You do the best you can. And for me, my Ava, I prayed. I sought God. I have faith in Jesus Christ, and I depended on that faith. I also have a strong family support. I had loving parents that navigated the space with me, and my husband. I have loving parents in laws that loved us and navigated this space with us. We had extended family that we could go to. I have dear friends that when I needed a moment to get out, I could take it. The problem with that one is I didn't always ask. I didn't always reach out because I was in too deep. I was in the trenches. I was doing the things. And usually I didn't even think to get with anyone until I was at the verge of burning out, or I was just sinking low because I was always feeling like I was in this fight. Like I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta do, I gotta go, I gotta do. They need me, they need me, they need me. And it's became a vicious cycle for me as I was child rearing and raising my children. And usually when I knew I needed help, I should have gotten help a, a month or two sooner than I did because now I'm at a breaking point. And fortunately, I did have people that I could go to reach out to. But why didn't I go sooner? Why didn't I go before I got to that breaking point? And that's something that I teach other parents now that are going through in real time. Don't do what I did. Learn from me. Learn from my mistakes. Some things, yeah, I'm going to say I did really well and I did right and follow me. But other things I'm going to say, I missed the mark. I missed it. Don't do what I did. Don't burn out. You can do self care before I did. I had to learn it and I learned it the hard way. You don't have to. Understand you need to take care of yourself. Understand that one thing my husband taught me early on, he said, Maeva, if you're no good to you, you're not going to be any good for anybody else. And you know when he taught me that? We had just had my son. I was nursing him, and he wasn't latching on. And I was so stressed. I was so upset. Here, the books are saying, the doctors are saying, people around me are saying, you need to breastfeed your child because they'll be better off for it. They'll have better immunity. It's better for them. And I'm trying, and he's not latching on. So now I'm panicked. I'm crying. I'm stressed. Oh my gosh, I can't be the best mom for my child because he's not latching on. And Chris helped me, and he said, Maeva, if you don't if you're not good for yourself, you're not going to be good for anybody else. And he basically helped me snap out of it and figure out how to get myself together in that situation. I reached out to Aunt Elsie, who was 70 years old at the time. She gave me tricks and it worked, and I was able to get my baby to latch on. So, for any mothers out there that are having trouble, what she told me to do that worked was she told me to make sugar water, dip my finger in it, and rub the water around the nipple, and my son actually latched on and learned how to suck that way. So, I know this isn't about that, but if it can help somebody, by all means, take it. Um, so from that, I really learned that I had to protect me first. And even though I learned that in that space, I still didn't always get it right. I still didn't always do what I needed to do for myself. And it was levels to that learning. It wasn't a one size fits all. It wasn't a one stop shop. And now all of a sudden I'm good. It just didn't work that way. So I was able to take that tidbit, and I still worked hard with my son. We worked at the dinner. I mean, at the dining room table, and we worked hard on his schoolwork. We worked hard on his physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. And I worked with him to help him close the education gap between he and his typically developing peers. And I called us the dynamic duo because we just spent countless hours just doing a thing just to make it work and to get him to the next level. And it wasn't always easy. He was very amenable in the beginning. Then he got to the point where he didn't want to do it like he used to do it. And that, I guess that comes with growing and maturity. Why do he have to be the one at the table all the time? Why does he need to be doing this and that? It's not fair. How come his sister doesn't have to do it? And guess what? Parenting there, when you parent a child that is not neurodivergent and doesn't have these concerns or issues that are the same, how do you manage it? How do you parent both childs and meet their needs and concerns? It's challenging, but it can be done. We did it. Kyra was in gifted classes and AP classes, and Chris was in learning support classes, but I had to meet both of their needs and make sure that she wasn't lost and make sure that she got it. So same parent had to just figure it out, right? And then Kyra developed medical challenges, um, where she dealt with chronic migraine headaches. She dealt with chronic neuropathic pain. And that was hard. It's hard to watch a baby uh, suffer, and you go in there and say, "Did you do this? Yes. Did you do that? Yes. Did you do this? Yes. Did you do that? Yes." And then you run out of options, you run out of suggestions, and then you basically throw your hands in the air because you don't have anything else. Do you know how hard that is as a parent? Do you know how hard it is for a mother who cares so deeply for their child that would trade places so their child wouldn't be in pain to run out of options? But I did, and it was hard. So I'm navigating the space with my son and navigating the space with my daughter. And I tell you, the only thing that got me through and it kept me sane for the most part is prayer and my relationship with God. And when I say God, I mean Jesus Christ. Um, and that's my God, you know, that's my God. And that was the only thing that really saved me. And then I would say my family support and, being grounded and willing to communicate. Later, I found a therapist, and that helped. Having someone to talk to that was not attached to the situation, a third party, that was very helpful. And she shared similar spiritual beliefs that made it even easier because I felt like she better understood me and was able to give me opinions and suggestions that align with my spiritual and moral values. If you go to find a therapist and your therapist isn't working for you and you think it's a waste of time, please know that might not be the person for you, but it doesn't mean that therapy isn't for you. It just may mean that you need to find someone different to talk to that aligns with you and your values that you can relate to. Because finding a therapist was so helpful for me, especially in some of the darker times, because I had someone to unbiasedly listen to me and my opinions and my struggles and give me suggestions. And most of the times, what they do is really help you think through what you need, and then you come up with the answers for yourself. And they just guide you. They're basically just a facilitator helping you navigate and get through things. And I highly encourage that. Highly, highly, highly encourage that. So back to Chris, when we were navigating this space, I remember, like I said, I worked really hard with Chris and I ordered Hooked on Phonics for him. And that was one of the best decisions I made when my children were little, is to do Hooked on Phonics. So they were both reading before they went to kindergarten. And even with all of Chris's struggles, what really saved him throughout school was his ability to read and to read well. So and I wasn't as successful with math as I was with reading, but we worked hard with math. Um, and when he went to first grade from kindergarten, I had Chris adding and subtracting like 2 plus 2, 1 plus 2, really simple, but he was not only sorting, he was adding and subtracting. And when we went to school at the beginning of his first grade year, I had a conversation with his teacher. This was one of the more memorable conversations that I've had in his schooling. And it was also one of the most stressful conversations I've had with a teacher throughout his schooling. And I'll never forget talking to this lady, and we were talking about what Chris was going to be learning. And she said, I'm going to have Chris sort. And I said, but he's adding and subtracting at home. She said, well, all we're going to do is have him sort here. And I said, but he's adding and subtracting at home. So we went round and round for a little bit. And I finally said, look, what you're going to do is raise the bar. You're going to raise the bar, and Chris is going to jump. And if Chris doesn't hit the bar each time, it's okay. I'll take him hitting it sometime. But what we're not going to do is lower the bar for him to hit it every time and get a false sense of security and a false sense of success. We're not playing these games. I want my son to know that he has challenges. No, I don't want it to make it so uncomfortable and so unbearable that it's so unrealistic that he's frustrated and he's crying and he's disliking life or disliking school because of it. That's not what I was going for. But I wanted him to know that he has to work and it's okay to work hard. And it's okay. It's also okay not to hit it every time, but you keep trying and you hit it when you can. That's what I wanted. And finally, she gave in, and that's what we did. But eventually, we had to meet with the superintendent of special ed, the principal, and everyone at the IEP meeting. And we elected to pull him from the special education classroom. And how we came to that decision, we had Chris seen by a developmental pediatrician. A developmental pediatrician is different than a regular pediatrician. A regular pediatrician is a doctor who takes care of the medical needs of your child. They are who you go to when your child is sick, or they are who you go to when you get your immunization shots and to just check on the well-being of your child. Whereas a developmental pediatrician is a regular pediatrician who went back to school and learned what the milestones were for your child, and they know, what is normal development versus abnormal development. So we went to a developmental pediatrician and he assessed Chris. And if you have a child with special needs or that has an IEP, the IEP will say that your child should be in a least restrictive learning environment. And what the developmental pediatrician discovered was the general ed class was Chris's least restrictive learning environment. He loved being in the regular ed class and he thrived. So what we did was we pulled him from the special education classroom because that was deemed more stressful for Chris, and we put him in regular ed. But what happened with that, because he didn't all of a sudden not need support or not need help, but he needed help differently. What we did was we pulled him out and he went into the resource room. So um, as much as possible, he stayed in regular ed, but for subjects like math and things that he struggled with, they pulled him out, and he received um, his lessons in the resource room. And this worked for us. And the teacher that he had, to this day, we love her. My son is 28 years old, and then talking about her to you now, it brings me warm, fuzzy feelings because she cared. She gave him a chance, and she was willing. She said, let's try it and let's see what happens. And do you know he thrived because she cared and she invested the time and she was willing. And my son became so happy. And we love her to this day. Just thinking about her name is Monica Rush. And I say her name because if it weren't for her caring and giving him the chance, where would he be? And we live in a predominantly white environment, and statistics show that boys of color, in particular black boys, are labeled more often. They are put in special ed more often, and all the things. And when we were navigating this space, we had to make sure that Chris wasn't a statistic versus needing the help. And yes, my son needed help. We weren't in denial. Chris Sr. and I are the ones that advocated for his testing when everyone told us he didn't need it. So we weren't in denial. We were realists. We just didn't want Chris to have more than he needed, and we didn't want him to have less than he needed. We wanted him to have what he needed to thrive and to try. And Monica was that person. And Monica is um, a white teacher who believed and who gave him the chance and who saw beyond skin color and saw a child for who he was and tried, who saw his parents for who we were and tried and worked with us. And for that, we're forever grateful to her. And this was elementary school. And my son is far removed from elementary school. And I still thank her because she gave us hope. If she didn't do what she did, we would have had to pull him out of that school because the person that was with him before, we didn't feel the same. We didn't feel like she necessarily had his best interest in heart. We felt that she had what we consider an agenda that typically worked for kids, and she wanted him to conform to her agenda. And I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm not saying that she wasn't even a good teacher. She just wasn't the best for our child, and she wasn't the best for our family. But I'm not going to demonize her and say she wasn't good, because apparently she was good for somebody. She was in that role, and they loved her in that role. She just didn't work for us, and we didn't conform to what we didn't think was working. And fortunately, Monica, Monica, if you're out there and if you're listening, we love you. We loved you then and we love you still. So thank you for what you did. You gave us hope. You gave us belief, and you just really helped us. And I hope that every parent out there finds a Monica that needs a Monica. And even Chris's pediatrician, she was the same way. When you have a pediatrician, I'm going to tell you, they're there for your child, but they're there for you too. They should meet your needs. If you have a pediatrician and you're not able to ask the questions and get the answers that you need, I'm telling you, find someone else, because they're not for your family. They're not for you. Your pediatrician should be able to ease your mind. They should be able to answer your questions, and they should be able to make you feel safe and know that you are making the best decision for your child or for your children. And for us, our first pediatrician, her name was Juliet Marciano, and she was just that. Like Monica, this woman cared. Oh my goodness. She listened to us. She not only served our baby, but she served us. And I highly recommend that anyone who has a pediatrician make sure that they're serving your needs as well as your child's needs. And fortunately for us, when she left, the other doctors in her office were also caring. They listened, and we were able to get the support and help we needed. But Dr. Marciano is the one that, with when we expressed our concerns about Chris's development, she's the one that encouraged us and had us to reach out to the intermediate unit to have Chris tested and everything. She didn't blow us off. She didn't say, "Oh no, he's fine. You don't need to go." She encouraged us to do what we needed to do, and we were grateful. We found out that he did need some help. He did need some services. And one thing I'll tell you is, if you don't think your child needs help and everybody around you is telling you that your child needs help, what's the harm in getting them tested? What are you afraid of? Are you protecting you, or are you protecting your child? What is it? Most of the times I think it's the parent um protecting their child against a stigma, or they don't want to face reality for themselves and they don't want to get the child tested. I encourage you to get them tested, because the sooner you get them tested, if they do need help, the sooner you can get services. And a lot of times, if they're borderline, those services could help them catch up, and that they won't need services later on. The sooner you get it, the better off they are. I strongly encourage you to do that. It worked for us. My son needed services and he got them early, and we were able to close the gap. Did we close it all the way? No, but we were able to make a lot of gains and strides because we got help early. I don't regret it. I'm grateful for it. So I encourage you. The worst or the best thing that can happen is they don't need services, and you say I was right. And then you can rub it in people's face if that's what you need to do, and say I was right, I was right. They don't need anything. If that makes you feel better, then do it. But how would you feel if you push it off And now they're 10 years old in school struggling, and you got to get the help where you could have had 8 years of services, and maybe you would have only needed 3. But now you don't put them far back in this hole, in this deficit, and now they got to really catch up. How would you feel about yourself then? Please, please, please get your child tested. And again, the best thing that can happen is you were right and they don't need anything. The worst thing that can happen is you were wrong and they needed services, and now you let years go by and now they have a lot further to catch up on. So please get your child tested. There's no shame in it. There's so many things out here now that you have at your fingertips that we didn't have that can help you today. So working with Chris, he graduated high school. He went to college. He has a couple years of college under his belt from a community college. They said that he would never, they didn't even want him to go through a general ed track. They wanted him to go through the certificate program where he just said he finished school. We said, no way. There's no way he's going to a certificate program. And we made him go through regular education track. And guess what? He did it. And he graduated. And we just got the help that he needed for the classes that he needed. But my son got a high school diploma. And he went to community college. He didn't graduate yet. He stopped in 2020 when, right before the COVID pandemic, and he hasn't gone back yet. But we want him to go back and finish his associate's degree, and then if he decides to go on and get his bachelor's. But my point is, we encouraged him. We stood with him. We walked with him. We held his hand when he needed holding, and he did it. And we didn't listen to the naysayers. We stood with him and we fought with him. And now Chris came up with the idea of CASEN, Collaborative Advancement for Social and Emotional Needs. That's our business, to help other parents and children and caregivers navigate in this space. We don't want anybody to feel alone. We don't want you to be alone on your journey like we felt like we were at times on our journey. You have somebody who went before you, who can pull you along, who can talk to you, who you can bounce things off of. Come see me. Come talk to me. You don't have to do it by yourself. Sometimes you don't even know that you're alone or lonely until you find somebody to talk to and see what you could have, or what was missing. Everybody needs support. Everybody should be supported on their journey. And that's what I want. That's what I want to do for people. I don't want them to go through life alone and to feel like they have to navigate the space by themselves when they don't. Even if you have a spouse, it could still be lonely. I know it was for me, and it doesn't have to be. So with Kason, we do outreach. We go into the community and we talk about keeping kids safe online. We talk about bullying, the different types of bullying: verbal, social, physical, and cyberbullying. We have a course called Case and Connect, which is a 5-week course that is designed to be a precursor to regular social media, to prepare parents and children with the skills and tools that they need to keep their children safe and what to look out for. You don't have to do it by yourself. You don't have to figure it out. We are figuring it out as we go, and we can share what we have learned. We have apps that are already out there to keep you safe. That you can go to my website, casonllc.com, and go to library resources and print out the apps guide to tell you about the different apps that are out there to keep your children safe. And It's one-stop shop, and you can go and read and search them, and the links are there. Take you to the app, see which one works best for your family. We don't pretend to be the end. We're just the beginning. We're connecting you with the resources. So please, 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 you don't have to do it by yourself. If you want my book, I have a free ebook you can get. It's the 5 secrets to emotionally support your child with learning differences without burning out. You can go to Mothers of Exceptional Kids and download my free ebook, The 5 Secrets to Emotionally Support Your Child Without Burning Out. Please come join me in my community. See how we can connect and help. I am here to help you. Can you afford not to be with me? Can you afford not to be in community? Can you afford not to know how to keep your child safe online? Can you afford it? Can you afford not to know how to best protect your child and keep them prevented from bullying? Can you afford that? Well, if you want more information, come see me, contact me, and I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. Again, my name is Dr. Myava Clark. I am your parent empowerment and child safety advocate. I help parents and caregivers of neurodivergent children by providing emotional support and practical tools without burning out, while you guide your children toward meaningful friendships where they are truly celebrated for who they are and not just tolerated, all while protecting them against being bullied. Until the next time, take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.